NRL Fantasy Buy Hold Sell round 15. We're in the midst of the buy period right now. State of Origin is in flux. Plenty of injuries floating around as well. Probably a week where most of us want to save trades, but still worth talking about some of these guys. Biz, how are you feeling heading into this week? Do you feel like that roster's coming together, and do you feel prepared for round 16?
Yeah, I feel okay for round 16. It's probably the weakest of the buy rounds for me at the moment, but I've kind of based my squad around just ignoring the buys, and I've got a ton of keepers in the team. Suffered a bit this week, guys like Hopgood, etc. Harry Grant, they didn't back up with 80 minutes or big minutes, so their score suffered. But there was some positives too, like Isaiah Yeo still scored 60 points for me. So I'm looking better for the run home, and I think I need to get some good guys in for 16 this week.
Yeah, Yo turned up. Paddy Carrigan turned up as well. Quite a few of the Origin guys rocked up and had good games. Playing didn't as well. But yeah, lots to talk about this week. Lockie Galvin being at the head of it. Obviously, Latrell Mitchell. He's not really a buy this week, but I will just mention I reckon he's in the Origin side 100%. I'm just going to put that on record. Would you say the same thing?
Before this week, I would have said yes. Midway through this week, I would have said no because the coach came out. I saw an article in the Australian saying that Bradman Best was going to be chosen. If the reason they didn't pick him was solely because he was injured. Otherwise, he was penned into the team. But after that performance, how can you not pick Latrell? He's a beast at Origin level. Everyone's saying he's got form issues this year. I think form issues maybe defensively, but with the ball in hand, he's as dangerous as ever. And I think that's what New South Wales needs. So will he get picked? I think it's 50-50 with Bradman Best coming back. But my personal opinion is he has to be there.
It makes him risky, though. It makes him very risky. Can't buy him this week, right? Because he misses the next 2 games. So steer clear of Latrell, but if you haven't already, enjoy the ride. You're in it. You're locked in. Got to stick with it. Quick shout out too to some sponsors. So TBC Live and the SRL brought to you by Tommy Talau, a man who scored 6 tries in the last 2 weeks.
We have to take him off this. We've talked him into fantasy gun existence. If someone told me that he'd be averaging 70 across 2 games against the Storm and the Panthers, I'd be like, what the hell? But he's here. He's 515K. He's got a break even of -6. He's headed towards the 600K mark. He has to be a viewer of this show. He's had many, many games in his life. And all of a sudden, when he becomes our flagship player for the casual athlete buy, hold, sell, he becomes a fantasy gun. It has to be linked.
Are we claiming it? Did we make
We have to claim it. We made him.
So who do we want next then? Because if we've turned him into a gun, right? He's better than Taylor May these days, which you couldn't have said to me in round 1. Who do we turn around next? Is it Fair-Tape? Is it Sean Russell? Like, who are we grabbing onto?
We should think about it this week and come up with a new flagship last week. But I can't believe you just said that Taylor May is not as good as Talau. I remember week 1 I traded in Taylor May. If I just traded in Tommy Talau, I would have been doing so much better.
Oh, mate, you would have been set 100%. Well, guys, let us know in the comments who you want us to turn around next. If there's someone who's disappointing you in your fantasy side, we can maybe make them the flagship guy and turn them into guns like we did Talau. But yeah, shout out to the guys at TBC. Look, great live predictions game. We've got the link in the description there. Download the app, give that a go. It's awesome. And the SRL as well, so Simulation Rugby League. And we'll talk about them more at the midway point. But it's a great league where you create your own player. And they compete in simulation competitions against a bunch of other guys. So awesome community. Now let's jump right in here to the buys. Now there's some pretty straightforward options here. We're going to get into some really spicy pods. And I think the hold or sell section is where things get really interesting today. But first up here in the buys section, I'm going to throw to you, Biz. Grab any name from this list. Who do you want to talk about? Who's really jumping out at you?
I feel like 4 of these names are pretty straightforward. I like Connor Watson because they've come back and Victor Radley said that, he's been killing it in the lock position and that he's happy playing edge like he has been for the last few weeks. Connor Watson has the potential to be the best forward in the fantasy game. Like, he just scores in so many categories. And if he's playing 80 minutes at lock and he's still 780K, he could be a 900 to 950K guy, similar to your Fafitas, etc. So I'm most excited about Connor Watson. Just had a buy out of the way. Plays round 16. He could be one that's making his way into my team this week.
Dude, that would be a monster pod, right? And he's named at hooker this week as well. So you got Brandon Smith out for a week. It shouldn't matter. Nafu White is sitting there in that lock spot. I'd say Brandon Smith will be back next week, be my guess. You missed a meeting, so it should usually be a 1-week thing. So, yeah, mate, you're almost talking me into Connor Watson. He's been super dynamic. If he can stay fit, that's a big question.
I don't think I have a hooker for round 16 either. So Watson could be my solution. He's not
Not
available at hooker though yet,
eligible.
right? So when's the
No.
next break? I should know that off the top of my head, but I
Last
find
one was a week or two ago, so I'd say
yeah,
it's going to be
probably
after round 16.
that's strange to me that they didn't give him the dual position because he was playing at hooker through the year as well when Brandon Smith was gone. So that's a
Only
bit
as an
annoying.
injury sub, though.
Yeah, no, I
That's
get
the
that.
problem.
I get
Yeah.
that. But yeah, he's probably the one I mean, I've got David Feeder, I've got Fanor Blake. Aitken, I'd love to get in, but he's quite expensive. And Hughes and Watson. I mean, I think I'd prioritize Watson this week.
Here's what I'll throw at you though, because like you look at Watson 780k, Adam Fanor Blake is 784k, right? So same price point. I don't own either of those guys. If I was getting one, for me, it's got to be Fanor Blake, right? So his role is super reliable. He's locked into that. He obviously relies on a few tries, and there's a few off-field issues that we're hearing about as well. But in general, he's that guy, and he's been that guy for a long time. I worry a bit about Watson's health as well. Like, he hasn't really been able to sustain this sort of role long term, and I don't know if he picks up a niggle at some point. They've got Terrell May sitting on the bench. They got Naafu White sitting on the bench. They got Nat Butcher sitting on the bench. Like all these guys can come in and play bigger minutes. Radley goes back to lock, whatever it is, and he doesn't have to be used and abused for such big minutes, for like in a real footy sense. So as much as it makes sense for fantasy, Connor Watson, I would rather Fanor Blake.
My counter argument to that is Fanor Blake was getting 60, 65 minutes when the Warriors pack was decimated. They're all kind of back now. Nyokore's back. You know, Tohu played off the bench last week. They've got so many mouths to feed there. And last week he had a huge score, but that wasn't off 55 minutes rather than the 65 minutes he was getting prior to that. So there is volatility in Fanor Blake's minutes as well. I just think Watson is like the form player. Like, you know, he's been out for a few weeks, but he just looked so good this year. I would say he was probably in the top 2 for the Roosters pack when he was playing. So I get it both ways, but like it's an easier solution for me because I have Fanor Blake. But you know, if I compare him to Ewan Aitken at 787k, I'd rather take Connor Watson.
Yep.
But yeah, I guess it's a different position as well, so it's not exactly comparable.
Yeah, see, that's an interesting one. So we'll segue to Ewan Aitken here now, because 787k is massive overs, and in previous years, a big priority point for me has been buying guys when they're value and not paying overs for guys, no matter how good they are. Just not paying overs. Don't buy when they're overpriced. This year has been the year where I've kind of let that slide a little bit. I'm sort of looking at guys, I'm thinking, you know what? We have a lot of cash to use. There's not a lot of guns that are staying fit right now. Not a lot of them are playing through the origin period. I'm happy to pay overs for certain players right now. Ewan Aitken, 787k. It feels like it's a bridge too far for me right now, to be completely honest. And I've got center covered anyway for round 16. But if you needed a center for round 16, if you had a bunch of cash, you got rid of, Hines, for example, that sort of thing, you wanted this keeper center for the rest of the year, would you jump on Aitken?
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely agree with you on the price of Aitken. The only thing that goes for him is that he's at that center position, and having a guy who's guaranteed 50 pretty much at center is lovely. In saying that, we've probably got good centers this year and last year compared to what we had in the past. Like, for example, guys like Farnworth and even guys like Kyle and stuff like that, they're still kind of doing 40 plus and aren't requiring trades. So Aitken, he's got a great buy schedule. 787k. That's big boy money. That's like 60 average money. Is he averaging 60? Like, I see him more as a 50 to 53 kind of guy.
He's at a 57.5 right
I know,
now.
but I feel like that's just been boosted by some massive scores. Like if you look at if I look at his scores recently, I'm pulling up his stats right now. I feel like there's a couple of big whammers in there, and you're relying on him to keep getting those because he's priced at what? He's priced at 56 right now. I just look at his historical stats, second row, and it's not great. Like he's coming off a 76 and an 81, right? Like that. That's not. I mean, it can happen, but like his base stats are 38 tackles and 115 meters. So he's not really an attacking player. So I give him a low 50s average, and given that he's priced at 56, I don't really love it, but then it is still tempting. So I don't know. He's not my priority. Yeah,
Not a
if you
bad
got
shout.
tons of cash and you need a center, then it makes a lot of sense. If you're kind of upgrading like a good center, like an era already, probably wouldn't go up and upgrade him to Aitken for like that price difference.
Yeah, see, for me, it's not making sense. I've got Euro, obviously, Herbie Farmworth, Tedesco, then Joey Manu, KO Weeks, sort of my backline. So I'm feeling already pretty well covered. So I'm going to skip clear. Jerome Hughes is a guy on this list that I did buy last week. So got 76 points out of him. The try was one thing that was a bit of a booster, but in general, he's pretty rock solid. And when he plays out Munster, he's about a 61 average. We both know that. Pretty straightforward. I think Jerome Hughes was just a classic. Don't overthink it, make the move kind of buy. If you needed a half, I did, so I'm pretty happy I did it. And now we've got Lockie Galvin sort of causing problems for our teams as well. So that half cover is even better. Jerome Hughes, and I'm going to throw in Tyron Wishart as well to this conversation. The Storm halves pairing. Biz, what is your general sort of feel towards those two guys?
Hughes, I think, is like you said, just don't overthink it. Like he's always been like almost keeper level. Like he hasn't always been keeper level in terms of he's probably been a great 18th man, or end of your bench kind of guy. But without Munster, he becomes an elite tier half, right? Like in the Cherry Evans kind of mold, like below Hines and Cleary, of course, but still good. Wishart, I didn't get him in, but damn, that 80 plus score really hurts. I don't know. Did you get him in, Longy?
I didn't, man. So I already had Atkinson, Weeks,
I had these kind of
Armstrong. I had
guys.
all these
Yeah.
guys.
I mean, like you can't predict those kind of performances, right? I wouldn't get Wishart myself. I think he will have a low break even, but unless he's getting tries, I mean, they do have a really nice run. But when everyone's got 5 trades left, to bring in like a mid ranger at like 450k or whatever he is now,
Yeah,
it's a lot
more.
to.
Yeah.
It's like 480 or something. It's a lot to swallow. So I mean, I wouldn't do Wishart myself. But then I said that last week and I got 80 points, so I could look stupid next week. Who knows?
Yeah. No, I think you're spot on. Like, because you can get him or you can get another guy who's at about the same price and is a top tier gun, Tommy Talau,
That's it,
right?
baby.
With the better buy schedule too. So the Manly buy schedule, we love the Tigers picture with the Talau fingers, but if we just keep roasting, he'll keep scoring.
Yeah, we're doing it for him now.
Mate, it's been a year of guys who have no fantasy pedigree just popping off, though. Like, Tamari Martin's averaging like 61 over the last 3 weeks. Sean Johnson's back, so he's a massive trap. Don't jump on him. But he's come in. Dan Atkinson was sort of not looking like much, and then he just went on this tear without Nico Hines as well. Like, it's just been a year of those guys surging up. Fafita is one guy who isn't in that category. He's a historical fantasy gun who's gone to another level. He saved his score this week. Just to put it frankly, I was sort of shitting bricks at one point, just thinking, oh no, he's on 35 points. There's 15 minutes left. He scored that try where he got the deflection off a kick and sort of boosted his score up to the mid 50s and then updated to about 63. So 63 points with a try. You're not loving that, but 63 points, I'll take it. If you didn't have Fafita right now, are you still jumping on? And is he certainly not in the Origin side?
Yeah, I don't think Queensland's rushing him in. I think, like I said last week or the week before, that Slater's making a statement here.
Just to chime in, Hopgood, bit of a back nerve issue.
Yeah.
Does that change it?
No, I think Hopwood plays. I think it's like if he's playing for Parramatta, he's playing for Queensland, right? Like Parramatta doesn't have as much to play for after last week's schmozzle. So, yep, we won't
All we
go
have to
there.
do is win 11 out of the next 10 games, mate.
Yeah, exactly. It should be right. Fafita, I think Moses gets picked, but I mean, that's a separate topic. Fafita, I think you have to get him in still. I think I didn't see my rank really move when Fafita was playing, even though he was captain. I think a lot of people just brought him in and captained him. The thing with Fafita is, even though he obviously scores better in 80 minutes, I never felt too worried about his score as captain, simply because he kind of relies on big plays. Like he doesn't kind of accrue stats through a game. He's either going to score a try early and get 70 plus points, or he could score a try late. But he's often usually pretty good for at least 60. Like, even though his base stats are so low, he's actually one of the most consistent edges, which is crazy to think about. A consistent edge based off like 20 tackles a game or whatever his stats are. So I think Fafita is still I don't know if saying value is the right word at 900k, but he's certainly not overpriced. So I would, he's definitely, if you don't have, I suspect a lot have Fafita already, but if you don't, off this list, he's probably the number one priority.
I would throw in too, he's got the Tigers this week. The Tigers could not tackle anything. So Zach Lomax scored 103 against them.
Yeah.
That was a disaster game for their
And
defense.
the team got worse this week with all the players getting injured, like, right? Like, Twile could be missing. He's the guy who defends pretty well. Galvin actually defends all right. Some of these guys.
They benched the safe art as well. So
Yeah, like that hurts me because I got like, like, it's funny because we talked about Seyfarth last week and I was off him and then I got talked into him and he's gone. What a dud trade that was.
I said it to you.
I
It's
know.
good
I
fantasy,
said it
Robbie.
too.
Keep his spot.
I said it too, man. I didn't listen to myself. I blamed the guys in the comments. I looked at the comments of our video and they're like, guys, you didn't talk about Seyfarth. He's a beast. I'm like, yeah, you're right. And then I did it, and I saw the game, and I'm like, he was so like, I just knew he was going to get dropped.
There are some absolute golden nuggets in the comments, but that wasn't one of them. That was
I should have listened to myself.
No, that was some video. That was someone from Discord trolling you, mate. That's that's what was happening.
If you're watching, mate, you got me. I'll get you back for that one. I want to put in some like rubbish pod. I want to hype someone up here just to get back at you. That's absolute garbage. So you get so you're gonna have to figure out which one.
So I guess I'll throw it to you to talk about Talakai if that's if that's what we're gonna do.
Okay, we didn't do this on purpose, but Talakai, I mean, he's looking good. He's scoring pretty well, but the thing, he's 390k, which is a great price. But T. Wilton is week to week AC joint. Suspect it'll be like a 2 to 4 week things, but he's already kind of missed a couple of weeks, so it's probably getting towards the tail end now. I wouldn't get Talakai. So I can't do this to you guys. I got to give impartial, objective views, and these are my views. I wouldn't get Talakai. But if you're the if you're the one guy who told me to get Seyfarth last week, you should get Talakai.
Just that guy. Look, I'll say with Talakai though, if he stays in the back row. So I was getting asked a lot about him on live, which was I've chucked him into this to talk about him. But if he stayed in the back row till like round 20, for example, then I'd be jumping all over this. This is an awesome option. But yeah, like you're saying, it doesn't look like T. Wilton's going to be out for that long. But at the same time, this has been the year where just stupidly jumping on players like this and not thinking about it has paid off massively. Because you'll jump on and it'll be like Tyron Wishart, for example, who was filling in for Jerome Hughes for 1 to 2 weeks, then is suddenly in the team for 4 months, right? So Talakai will have some sort of injury happen. Nico Hines will get hurt and Talakai will go to halfback. Or something insane like that will happen. I'm not salty, but I'm a little salty. I just feel like I reckon we're going to be talking about him at 600k. I have no logical justification for it, so I'm not going to buy him myself. But I've got this sneaking suspicion that's going to happen. So if you're in a draft league, stash him. I wouldn't go and buy him in your classic league, but for a draft league, I genuinely think that you should go and stash him.
Yeah, I can't even disagree with that. I can't disagree with your lack of logic, but that's like, no, I agree.
Mate, it's the buy round insanity setting in. We're stuck on the boat. We're getting scurvy. We've just run for 3 days. I'm going to go to Jaden Campbell here next, though. So 519k. Him and Jack Whiten were the two I was tossing up at the last minute when Armstrong got ruled out. And they both scored exactly the same score in very different ways. So Jaden Campbell, he came out. He was playing at 6. He was very involved across the board. He had a lot of offloads and line break assists and that kind of thing. They didn't break out into try assists or tries for him, but his involvements were super dynamic. I was actually surprised he got such a high fantasy score. Considering the amount of plays that were almost more points for him, where he could have cracked 80 points this week. So Jaden Campbell's a stud. The Titans have a really good buy schedule. He misses around 17, obviously. If you're going to get him, keep an eye on your Titans, Rabbitohs, and Sea Eagles for around 17. But otherwise, I think he's a red-hot option. He'll get that dual position at some point as well. Jack Whiten's the other guy here, so about 100k cheaper. Whiten's the one I did get onto. He was looking really dodgy with about 20 minutes to go, so he had about 25 points. He had the try. He had an offload for a Cody Walker try as well, and just cranked his score up to 57 very quickly. So Jack Whiten, I'm not going to say that's a fluke because that's how Jack Whiten plays footy. Like, he's not that sort of stat accumulator like you're talking about. He's a running 6 in a South Sydney side that's very temperamental. I was a bit worried at times because it looked like he was watching Cody Walker and Latrell Mitchell play footy for certain sort of red zone sequences, but then he really got his own sort of at the back end of that. And at 412k, center half dual eligible, plays some major buy rounds. I'm a big fan of both these guys, really.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I'm just thinking because all the good buys right now are the Titans, Souths, and Manly, and they're all out round 17. So like, be wary. You can have that situation where we had like lots of Canberra and Roosters players where they got last week, and people were scrambling. Like I had to play 15 last week because for me there was no point trading out Teddy. There was no point trading out Hines. Like I need them back. I don't have trades, right? So I don't know that situation. I like Wyden. I think at 400k, he's like actually not a bad depth option for the rest of the year. Jaden Campbell, he's probably not a guy you want in your top 3 fullbacks, right? So he's kind of going to be a non-playing reserve for you once you're at full strength. 519k, do I want a long-term non-playing reserve? Probably not. I get the appeal of him for the next few weeks, but like I don't know about you guys, but I got like 5-6 trades left. I don't think I can afford to bring him in. So I'll be looking for more of a keeper or a total. Like I prefer to cash out fully or get a keeper than get these guys who will kind of just be neither here nor there long term.
Well, Whiten is a historical 46 average at the 6th spot. He's had multiple years over the last 3 years where he's had that average as well. So
that's keeper at center. Yeah, he can be a keeper at center, right? But Campbell's only available at fullback. Yeah. And there's so many good fullbacks, right, who average like 55 plus.
Yeah.
Campbell, I don't know if he's that. So.
Yeah, so Whiten's the guy then. Marshall King, Sammy Fino. Which one of these guys do you want to jump onto?
I'll talk about Marshall King solely because I actually also want to talk about Damien Cook. Marshall King's really interesting. I think 678k is a pretty good price point. Superb buy schedule. He's had 2 buys already. Do they have it? Have they had 2 or 3 buys? I feel like the Dolphins had like a million buys already, but I think they've got 1 buy left. It's pretty friendly. The hooker position kind of sucks this year, which is weird.
It's round 18, by the way.
Round 18? Okay, nice. Yeah. Lonnie, like, when we grew up playing fantasy, hookers were the prime position, man. Like Cam Smith, Robbie Farah. They were the top 2 you go for every year. And we've always had luck because after them, it was Damien Cook, who used to be a 65 guy. Harry Grant used to be a 60 guy. They just used to, like, anyone playing.
There were guys. Like, Isaac Luke, Nathan Pitts.
Yeah, there was so
Andrew
many
McCullough used to average 60.
Yeah. But now, 53 is like the new 60. Like, oh, Harry Grant sucks. Robson sucks. Like, not in real life. They're great in real life, but fantasy-wise, like, hooker is a trash position. Like they're all kind of low 50s guys. It's almost as bad as a center position. I wouldn't go that far, but even like the casualty, like Lussick, Brendan Hands, Jaden Brayley, all the guys you thought you could make a buck out of have been pretty terrible. Anyway, coming back to JMK, I think he's going to be at that low 50s average, which is a keeper here. But I actually personally like Damien Cook myself. He's back to 80 minutes. Rabbits are getting some form. The attack is looking crisp again. They're getting players back. Campbell Graham's coming back. Some other guys are coming back. Latrell's fit and playing well. I don't mind the Walker-Wyden combination. They've got rid of like halves like Elias, etc., who I just don't think were like attacking threats. So JMK is good. Cook is better. But Cook also is a rabbit you have to watch out for that he misses round 17.
I'm going to throw it at you, though. I don't like you saying Cook's playing 80 minutes is a bit deceptive for mine. He's on the field for 80 minutes. He's not playing for 80 minutes necessarily, right? So when he moves to center or fullback or lock or half or, whatever it is, I think all of those positions have been ticked off over the last 3 weeks of footy for him. His fantasy score has sort of stopped unless he scores a try. He's been bailed out by a couple of fluky try-scoring plays over the last few weeks where I reckon he's got some really low scores in him, Cook. Because of that, last week, I, at the last second, pivoted my trade from Brandon Hands to Reed Money instead. I'm not a believer in Cook right now. I think he's an amazing fantasy option, but Marmazelis being on the bench is just a constant, terrifying threat to his fantasy consistency. So I don't rate him that highly. I was hoping to ride Reed Money and Jaden Campbell through the origin period and then trade Jaden Campbell for Harry Grant after that because he's getting nice and cheap. But Jaden Campbell is forcing his way out of my team right now. So Hooker's just been a mess, mate. It's been an absolute mess. I'll jump on Sammy Fino here as well. And sorry, were you going to say anything on Hooker before we go?
No, I was going to say, like, I'm willing to gamble on Cook solely because
Yep.
I think even playing 60, 70 minutes, his pedigree can still get you into the 50 score. So,
Oh, he's
which
been
is
a 65 average before. No,
exactly. So
100%.
if he plays, even if he's getting 60, 65 minutes, which I think is the minimum he'll get, he can probably still hit that 50 average, which is worth his price and still the same as like Grant and Robson, etc. this year.
I respect your belief. We'll see. We'll see who. We'll see how it pans out.
I'm getting him this week just to spite you. If you're such a hater, Long, I'm getting him in.
Look, I love him. All right, he's a gun. Semi-final is the last guy here, so he's not really a pod. I just sort of wanted to chuck him in because I think he's worth noting. Tigers' buy schedule is A1. The Tigers are a weird team right now. So Alex Seyfarth, he came in. He's out now. Fanil Pole is named on the edge. I don't know if that's like a combat Dave Fafita in terms of size thing, but he's going to get cooked for speed, basically, is what I'm seeing there. I just reckon they're in a bit of a mess. So Alex Twile, you mentioned, he's in some doubt. Isaiah Papali, he's out for a while. John Bateman still out for a while as well. Sammy Fino basically has to be that guy, and he's looking more and more consistent in his role. He's getting those cramps later and later in the game as well. So that's a good sign for him.
Is that a compliment or?
Mate, when I first bought him, he had cramps at like the 50-minute mark. I was watching it just like, oh, what have I done? What have I done to myself? But he's an absolute weapon, dude. He's so explosive. Like, I'm actually such a big fan of him in real life, and I reckon he's just going to keep turning it on for fantasy as well.
Yeah, I think he's definitely got the potential. Again, awkward price point where I'm not huge as a fan on it, but the buy schedule is very friendly.
And the dual position.
The dual position, yeah, it's not bad. I mean, if I throw this to you along, these 5 players, rank them 1 to 5, 1 being the number 1 priority.
Oh, okay. I would probably go. Depends what you need, right? So I would say, I think Sammy Fino is the number 1.
Okay.
Just because of the flexibility he gives you up the top there and that buy cover. I just think that dual position is awesome because it means you can react to things. Number 2, I would say Jack Whiten, just because of the price point, buy cover. 3 is probably going to be JMK is fine. He's probably number 3. We'll go Jaden Campbell number 4. We'll go for the SRL for number 5, the TBC logo for number 6, and then Talakai number 7. That's that's really my list. But no, look, Talakai has big upside. But yeah, that's my ranks. Would you change any of that, or are you pretty happy?
I'm very different to that. I'd have Wyden first, Campbell second, Finu third, no, JMK third, Finu fourth, and then Talakai fifth.
See, I reckon Fino can be that sort of 45 average for you and cover that dual position, play every major buy round. Like, if we consider the fact that in round 16, 17, and 19, maybe even 20, we're going to have problems fielding 17 or 13 players. If he comes through one of those weeks compared to any other option and produces 45 points that week, that's plus 45 for him, which if you look at that as an average over across about 6 weeks, you're looking at 7.5 points on an average, right? So to me, that boosts him up to being worth about a 50 average player at 502k. If he can stay fit, that's the only concern, but he's going to keep his spot.
I posed to you that Bateman's apparently returning in round 18 and Papali is like 20. So in the run home, what's Finu's position? Are they playing Bateman or Papali at lock again? They've got
I get 8 trades in round 20. So round 20
you're gonna liquidate those in like 2 weeks, mate, guaranteed.
Fizz, mate. The year I won, I had 1 trade left in round 21. One hobbled to the finish line, and I plan to do the same thing this time.
With Matt Keating in your team, right? Or did you trade him out? Was
he there sold him by then because he was benched for what's his name, Ben Roberts.
Oh, so I've had enough talking about that year. Yeah,
no, that was a good year. Like,
it was a good year for you. That was good.
Classic Dream Team. I still play that as well. Like 3,000 people play that. I'm coming 4th in Dream Team right now, so
yeah,
that's my better chance at winning some cash.
Yeah, maybe we should cover that Dream. I haven't played it since FanHub took over, but yeah, I've heard it's it's still pretty good code.
Yeah, I'll show you guys my team later because my team is stacked. Super stacked. It's absurd, actually. You get so much cash. Let's keep rolling through here, though. So, quick point here at the half hour mark. We've got championship rings. So, NRL Fantasy championship rings. If you want to win a championship ring, we're going to do a guess the score giveaway right now. Biz, I'm going to throw it to you, let you choose a player. We had a bit of a chat before. You can stick with that guy. You can just go off script here and do something crazy. Totally up to you. Who do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Sam Walker this week. I'm sticking with him. I think he's going to be a pretty volatile scorer at times, and up against Parramatta, who are also very hot and cold at times. I think it'll be an interesting proposition. I'll get the ball rolling. I reckon Sam Walker has a big week. I reckon 74 points.
74 points. All right. Well, guys, drop a comment below what you think Sam Walker is going to score this week. If someone gets that right, the first person who guessed it right gets themselves a free championship ring. This is what they look like. You can also buy them. They are at the link below. So if you got a league and you go hard in that league and you want something good to celebrate the win, grab a championship ring. I know I'm going to be wearing mine for the draft next year as well. So that's always available for you there. All right, Cheapies next. So this is pretty interesting here. We've got some guys, a lot of the same guys as previous weeks. I don't think we need to cover these guys at extensive length because I think everyone wants to get to the hold or sell options more than anything and talk about the origin guys too. So I'm going to skim over a few of these guys and I'm going to throw it to you to add any comments that you want to. Brandon Hands, some concern. Obviously, Joey Lussick came into the bench at the last minute last week. Lussick is on the extended bench this week. There is no guarantee that means he stays on the extended bench. There's probably a good chance that Hands doesn't play 80 minutes every week, but plays 80 minutes sometimes. At that price point, I still think he's kind of worthwhile. Would I want him as a guy in my 17? Absolutely not. But is the upside there that he averages 45 points? Yes, he covers half and hooker as well. So to me, that's pretty attractive. Kelma Tuolangi, I think this is dodgier. He had some pretty bad defensive moments in that game. I think you can write it off to Dejan Arce sort of having a bit of a shocker in that one. So I think Kelma should be okay. But the fact that Sean Lane's sitting on the bench, Ryan Madison's on the extended bench, means that Kelma could easily fade from this team at 413k. It's not a risk I want to take, especially not playing round 16. Fletcher Sharp, we'll pause on that one. We'll talk about that in a sec because that's a fun one to talk about. Matamua, Tigers minutes, so dicey, so dodgy. I'm just not confident about that. And his PPM doesn't justify the risk. And mate, your camera's on, but you're standing up. And then Josiah Pahulu. So he's come in, he's played some pretty good footy. But at the price point, I just reckon the PPM's not good enough, right? So you got about 33 points last week in about 50 minutes, which wasn't quite what we were looking for. We've lost Biz here, so I'm going to go into a bit more depth on these Para boys because I think the Para team is a hard one to read. Oh, you're back. Anything you want to add on those guys there?
Well, I hope you guys like my pants. Luckily, I was wearing pants. Sometimes I don't always wear pants while I'm, video recording.
Wow.
So, no, I'm kidding.
That kind of show, eh?
No, it's a kid's show. Nothing to add. I think Hands it's the last week to get him. Why is 317k? Tuolangi, I agree with what you said. Sharp, I think Knights have the bye next week, right? So I think you could potentially wait a week on him. But I think Armstrong's really asked for release, right? So should be safe. I don't know. We already up to Matamua?
Yeah. I'm not inspired by Matamua or Pahulu in terms of job security or PPM. The upside's not there.
Agree. I got nothing else to add to that.
So Sharp Peter, then, if he has a big game this week, are you going to find a way to get him after the bye?
Yeah, I think he'll be cheap enough where I can cash someone out to him. I mean, there's a temptation to cash out Armstrong to him this week, but I think I need players for 16, so I probably won't.
Yeah, so he's in there too. Worth noting that Kalen Ponga is due back round 22. Could be as early as round 20, is something I've heard, but that won't affect you for the origin period. So Sharp could be the guy. If it benefits you to cash out right now, though, then go get Sharp. That's fine. Like, you got 2 trades you want to make. You want to cash out one, then buy a gun. Go and do that. But don't break your team to go and get Sharp is my big point here. All right, hold or sell. These guys are really interesting, and we can talk about all these guys because I have every single one of them except for Seyfarth. You have all of them except Kohler?
That's right, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so we're both idiots, basically, because those last two, 451k, they're in purgatory right now.
We're literally, goddamn, like, we're actually the dumbest guys, eh?
Yet we're still in pretty good ranks. Like, I slid back a bit, but I'm 250. So
yeah, that's heaps good. I'm 2.5, but I think my team, like when they're at full strength, is like better than most because I don't have those mid ranges. I have like pretty much all the guns. So I'm hoping to make ranks this week.
You will, because I'm a bit more of a plotty mid-range team.
Yeah, I'm more handled to.
Yeah.
I reckon I'm better to handle the weeks between the buys and the weeks with the buys. That's for sure. Do you have?
See, I've got
Did
13 for
yeah,
round 16 already.
I don't. So
No, mate, I'm clear, and I don't have that many round 17 buys either. So
that's good.
I'm pretty set. But look, the end team's going to be hard for me to get. So let's jump into these guys though. So Lockie Galvin's the first one. Look, context on this: he has been carrying a hand injury. They've been playing him through it. A lot of guys play with injuries in the NRL, so it's not obscene. But the headline has been all about negligence on the Tigers, which I think has been unfair. He's requesting a release, seems to have been overheard in the change room, saying he wants to quit the Tigers. There's a few things like that sort of going around. I don't know if all of them are true, if any of them are true, whatever it is, but he's getting a rest this week. For mine, there's no guarantee he comes back next week either. But with the upside he presents, the buyer schedule, just how good he is as a fantasy scorer and how important he is to the Tigers, I think he's worth just saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to cop the red dot this week. I'll figure it out next week. If you trade him next week, you haven't lost much, but you get a clearer picture of what this is going to be in a week's time. So for me, he's a hold.
Yeah, I agree. Hold this week. The thing I'll add there is you can hold him this week, and if he's not there for round 16, a guy like Sean Johnson is a perfect trade target for that week. You get a gun half for that buy round pretty easily.
Yeah, that's prime. That's red hot. Jaden Brayley, what do you reckon?
Sell. Doesn't play next week. Middling. Just like
sell.
Hasn't just hasn't delivered. Like they give Crossland minutes. Like forgive me, Knights fans, but Crossland is ugh. Like seriously, like Brett. I don't know what they're managing or something. I can't believe they benched him. I mean, isn't he their captain as well? I don't know what was going on last week, but he's a guy that is like becoming a Cook or a JMK for me. Like I need a hooker for next week. Connor Watson not available hooker, so I'll have to go get someone. And Brayley's my prime target to trade out.
Are you sure it's not just the Knights doing Knight stuff? So Dylan Lucas last week scored 2 tries. He's on the bench this week. You know, we've seen KPP on the bench. Like they're just benching whoever just at random times. They've had about 8 different halves pairings, and they've only got 3 halves to choose from. Like,
is that an argument to hold or sell? I can't tell. Like that sounds like an argument to sell.
I'm just sort of saying, I agree with you. I think he's unstable, right? But I would not be surprised at all if he plays 80 minutes this week and dominates, produces like 60 points on 61 tackles. Like, I don't know. There's part of me that wants to just brave it and hold him because I didn't want to trade this week. But
I think I'll hold him. I think just same with you. I'll hold him this week because the reason I think he's a sell is because he doesn't play round 16. So I might as well just hold him this week and then evaluate the best option next week rather than rush into something. Yep. So I agree. I think he's a sell, but I think I probably would actually hold him for this week only.
I get it. He's dead to you, but you're gonna hang around until the offer comes up.
The worst thing for me is getting like a Damien Cook or a JMK and they get hurt this week and I've wasted the trade when I don't really need them this week. So I'll just cop Brayley one more week, hope he plays 80 minutes, and then trade next week.
Good shout. I like that. He does play late in the round, so if there is a late change to their team, that's going to suck. That's just one thing to note. Dan Atkinson at 458k. I've loved Atkinson. He's had some good scores for us, but at this stage, for me, he's a pretty firm sell. There's not like they're not playing round 16. They play the round 19 major buy round. I've heard a lot of people talking about holding him for that. I don't think you can hold a senseless red dot over the next 15, 16, 17, 18, it's 5 weeks away, right? It's not that long a season. You're looking at 20% of the season where you're holding this red dot and a bunch of cash. I'm selling him pretty hard.
Yeah, I'm selling him. I actually thought he'd be named this week. I just realized as you were saying that he wasn't. I actually missed that he wasn't there. So that actually kind of hurts for Hines as well, obviously. I assume it's Trindle that's been named there without having seen the list. Or I've seen the list.
Yeah, Trindle.
Clearly missed that spot. Yep, so that's not great for Hines as well. He's definitely a sell if he's not there this week. I would have said if he's there this week, again with Brayley, you hold one more week, cop a little bit more cash and then sell him. But easy trade.
Oh, if he was in, he's a hold for sure. 100%, especially if Hines is playing Origin. Alex Seyfarth, next guy here. For mine, I reckon what's going to happen, and this is not an objective, it's just a vibe, right? Is I reckon that they're going to run Fanua Pole as the starting edge back rower. He's going to take a bit of the heat of the early game, and I reckon Seyfarth will be on the field by the 20th minute, and he'll play out the game in that edge back row spot. He'll get his regular PPM, and he'll score a fluky try or something like that. And I reckon he'll come out and produce a good score.
Yeah, I'm not trading Seyfarth. I mean, it's good that you did the analysis because I'm just trading. I just want to trade him out of disgust that I brought him in, and I can't give it up that early. I can't trade in 1 week and then lose him the next week. So I don't give. Yeah. I don't care if he plays 5 minutes. He's staying for at least round 16. So he's. I feel like you just have to hold him. Like it's just as someone with pride. I got to stick with him and hope that he flukes your tries. But Kola, Kola's a surprise. I actually, like you, thought Hopwide would be a late drop and Kola would come in as fullback. It didn't happen, but I was actually hoping to trade Armstrong to Kola late in the week. But then when it didn't look like it was eventual, I just held Armstrong and copped the 15 players. Yeah, what's going on? He's always been so good at fullback. I'm surprised.
That hurts, man. So the tough thing for him is he's at a center spot where he is standing next to the next immortal on that edge, right, in Tommy Talau. So Talau is scoring all these tries and producing all these attacking plays from nothing. And Cola's just sort of there for the butt tap. He's there to run the decoy. He's not getting any points for those things. But really though, being serious, 11 points last week with a try assist in that was a total disaster. He's just not a producer at all at the center spot unless he flukes a big attacking play. And it's never a play that he's created or anything like that. It's always just, it's got to be like a support line or something like that. So it's tough because he's so capable of running 300 meters a game and being that dominant. And for some reason, it doesn't happen at center. I'm super perplexed by it. I find it very hard to sell him because round 16 is coming up. And I reckon you got to hold him for that. You're going to cop a few dollars lost here and there, but at the same time, we just have to hope they triple team Tommy Talau this week, and it leaves some space for lesser players like Kola to sort of crack it open.
I think the thing with Kola is he's still not that expensive, right? He's still priced as a center, so you're not going to lose too many dollars, right? So it's fine. I think you definitely hold him. I'm kind of having a similar problem with Isaac Tungo right now. I traded Taylor May to him, and he's just kind of gone.
That's gross.
Like it's just he just kind of went.
I'm buying him off as like a 350K buy at some point.
Yeah, like I don't like I got him at 500 like 3 weeks ago when he when Taylor May did Taylor May things, but like I'm kind of stuck. He's kind of like a guy I thought was a keeper who is traditionally average. Like I was tossing up him or Penasini at the time, and I compared their scores historically, and Tungo was higher, but then it's just not translating.
Same, historical 49 average.
Yeah, it's like exactly. So I don't know what's going on, but Cola's in a similar mold where you probably expected more from him, but at 450K, I think you have to copy him for around 16 for sure.
Yeah, I was hoping he'd move to fullback, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. So yeah, cop it. Hope for something. Probably not going to happen. If you can bench him this week, do it, or loophole him, whatever it is. That's the easy choice. Origin watch as well. So we can talk about anyone here, but we talked about this bit already. Latrell Mitchell, probably in the Origin side, so I wouldn't be going and buying him. Jermaine Hopgood, just worth noting with that back issue. You mentioned it before. If he's playing for Parramatta, he's probably going to play for Queensland as well. So we wouldn't factor that in too much. He's been named this week as well, so we're going to look at that. Harry Grant, do you reckon that rest last week was indicative of what's going to happen through the Origin period, or do you think it was an early rest and he'll be fine?
I think that's just going to happen. Like, to be honest, he's not going to play 80 minutes backing up. I mean, he only played 30 minutes in Origin, so it's not like he had a huge... him and Hopgood got big rests. Hopgood, I understand now. I was kind of perplexed during the game in such a close game why you wouldn't have one of your best forwards, but he was obviously carrying that injury. Harry Grant, I think they can cover him. They don't need him playing 80 minutes, but they're also not going to rest him fully if he's only playing 30 minutes a game. So I don't think you're going to buy any of these players, but if you've got them, you're not trading them out either.
How certain are you about Moses? Because I was looking at this and thinking, you know what, first half of that Dogs game, Nico, tough game for the Blues. Obviously, the send-off, it's pretty hard to evaluate. Moses have been red hot. And then Parramatta kind of parked the bus and played one of the worst second halves of footy I say as a frustrated Parramatta fan, right? But it was really frustrating. It felt like they lacked any sort of, I don't know, intensity or flair for the game when they're up by 8, 15 minutes to go, a player in the bin. Does that count against Moses?
Yeah, I think so. But I think that this could this round could be the final duel between them. Like whoever has the better game gets picked. I just think that from all reports in prior to Origin, that Maguire really wanted Moses. Like they tried to get him. He pretty much like the assistant coach came out and said they're going to pick him if he can just get through one game, right? One game after like 8 to 10 weeks off, and you're going to pick him for Origin. It clearly really liked Moses, and clearly Hines or Luai was the stopgap. And Luai had a much better game, not just in Origin, but also in the Sharks versus Panthers game leading up to Origin. Like Luai absolutely trounced him. So I love Nico Hines. I think Hines has a future in Origin. I just think that Moses is ahead of him right now. So I think this is like if Moses has a good game this week and Hines is average, then I think Moses goes in too. Especially because Hines, he did clutch at the calf pretty late in the game as well. So he's clearly not fully healthy. Like they're getting him through it, but it's kind of sketchy.
Yeah, he's a 6. I think that's the big thing, right? So Moses is the closest thing to Cleary that we've got. Any other Origin players you want to talk about here as well? So obviously Paddy Carrigan backed up, played big minutes. I don't think that's going to happen every time. Isaiah Yeo backed up, played big minutes. He's probably more likely to keep that role going forward. But I look at Penrith and I think, you know what? Lindsay Smith, Liam Henry, two of these guys, they're turning up. So they don't necessarily need to use and abuse Yo right now.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think they need to use and abuse him. He played 65 minutes. I think Yo is just that fit, and they need his leadership with Cleary on that he'll always play. Whether he gets big minutes or not, I don't know. But he's in my team, so I really need him to play big minutes, right? So the thing with Yo is he'll play 45, 50 minutes and he'll score 40 points. It's not the end of the world. He's not going to give you 10s or 20s. The other guys
who cranked out 10 and 40.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Yo's is a different beast. I feel like he could average 50 in 40 minutes or something. He'll just increase his work rate to match his minutes. And I think the other ones are just probably Payne Haas. He's kind of floated under the radar this year just because of his injuries. He's almost a buy again soon. He's got through 52 minutes, I think, post-Origin, which is not bad at all. So he's almost the same price as Aitken. So,
oh wow,
that just shows you how highly priced Aitken is. I think Haas is 815k. I think 813, which is 20k more than Aitken, or 30k more than Aitken. Sorry. And then Tedesco, he's interesting because Dylan Edwards is named this week. Does that mean Teddy gets dropped? I thought Teddy was actually okay. He had bad moments, he had good moments, but Dylan Edwards was the guy named there. And I feel out of respect, well, maybe out of respect is the wrong terminology, but I feel like they'll go Edwards back in there, which means Teddy will play 16 and he's a must keep or get. I think if Edwards makes Origin, you're getting Teddy in next week.
Yeah, I held Teddy for that reason.
Same.
So, 100%. I think Edwards will be the guy. They picked Edwards. It's like what you were saying about Moses. They went for Edwards logically, and they're going to do that again. As long as Edwards doesn't get hurt this week, that's the big thing. If he does, then we've held Teddy for no reason. But let's not
now that you've said that, that's exactly what's going to happen.
Well, that's all right because we can go Teddy to Talau once he scores 90 this week.
Let's go.
Straight swap, right?
If
we got on that would be crazy.
We should have done it. We should have actually done it. Anyway.
We got a new segment as well, and we haven't designed a visual for it at all. We're each going to pick our top captain option of the week, but there are straightforward guys like Nico Hines, Dave Fafita. It's kind of boring to talk about those guys. So we're setting the limit at 700k for this game. So top captain option of the week. We're going to have a look at last week's each week as well. Let us know in the comments who your top captain option of the week is. We'll also know who was still here at 49 minutes and 29 seconds, which means you're a hardcore, right? You're one of the crew. Biz, I'm going to throw it to you first, mate. Who did you have in mind for this top captain option?
I'm going to go Daly Cherry Evans at 692k versus the Dragons.
That's a classic. That's a safer
Yeah.
option.
Okay, fine. That's boring. All right, you go yours. I'll do something more exciting. You're
No,
right.
look,
That's kind of boring.
you can take your DCE and put your
I'm
helmet and
going.
your
I find. You
seatbelt
know what?
on.
I'm going Zach Lomax then. I reckon he'll back up
Zach
his 100.
Lomax.
I reckon he'll back up his 103 with another 80 plus score. I reckon he's in some crash hot form. And as a Parramatta fan, I'm desperate for a good player.
Aren't you worried about the fact that he's up against the best winger in the modern era, though?
I just think those two are like Goku and Vegeta. They'll bring out the best out of each other. It's going to be like a clash of the Titans, man. Like, so I don't know if the Dragon Ball Z fans, it's going to be like Super Saiyan 2 Goku versus Majin Vegeta. It's going to be like that level, man. It's going to be amazing to watch.
Wow.
I'll be
God.
up
Goku and
watching
Vegeta.
that. Yeah, exactly.
That's quality. All right, Zach Lomax. I like that. I like you got a winger because I'm going a winger as well, and I'm jumping on a Dom Young. Right. I just reckon him and Sivo, it's going to be very similar. I think they're both going to score 3 tries each. Dom Young doesn't like tackling big Sivo, and Sivo doesn't like moving sideways. So it's just going to pound each other in that game. Hopefully, Parra can win, but yeah.
Oh.
All right.
Battle of the Wingers. I'm just thinking.
Give us a chance to choose, and we both choose wingers.
Lomax and Talal, and then Sivo versus Young. There's not any defense being played right there.
Oh, mate. I'm keen to see what people come up with, though. So, guys, let us know who your captain under 700k. That's a big thing. If you start captaining like for feeder or something, I'm just gonna block you or something. I don't know. Look, but yeah, that's been us. Buy, hold, sell. Tommy Talau's here again. Shout out to TBC Live. Shout out to the SRL. Thanks for jumping on, Biz. Appreciate it. Early morning for you in New York.
I reckon I'm 1 hour late to work, so I better skedaddle real quick.
Well, hopefully the boss doesn't watch this. Best of luck this week, guys. We'll see you on the next one. Peace out.